In today's lesson, we're learning how to hit a draw. Okay? So the first thing that we have to go through in how to hit a draw is how to set up for a draw. Now, half of what we're going to do and go over is what most people do, and then we're going to go over the most efficient way to do it. So when I see people try and hit a draw or set up to hit a draw, is the number one thing they do is they turn their feet and kind of set up more diagonal across the target line. So what does that mean? You can see my feet are now pointed way right of my target. So my target being the middle of the screen here, I'm going to set my feet way right of it. Now, that's what people do, and I would say that's one of the least efficient ways to do it, because the golf club is not really connected to your feet, it's connected to your hands, and your hands go up into your shoulders. So we need to learn how to align our shoulders to hit a draw, not really align our feet. If we need to align our feet in the future, that's much easier, and that's a simpler second step as opposed to the first step. So what do we mean by align our shoulders? So if the idea of pointing my feet to the right to hit a draw is correct, then what I want to do is I want to learn how to point my shoulders to the right. So a couple ways we could do that. One, set in here, we can feel like our left shoulder goes out more and our right shoulder tucks in more, will help us align the shoulders to the right. So you can see I am pointing my shoulders off to the right. For me, it always feels like when I'm setting up to hit this thing, I'm really pulling that left shoulder out away from me and allowing myself to feel way more closed in my shoulders. Second way to do it is if you were to actually grip the club cross-handed, which means that grip is lower in the left hand, higher in the right hand, we would set up more here, and then we would try and move our hands back without moving our shoulders. So one more time, boom, boom. All right. So now my shoulders are more closed to the target. Closed is a good way of looking at retrospect in the target. So for a right-handed golfer, closed means anything pointed to the right. Open would mean anything pointed to the left. So going back to the stance topic, if I'm pointing my feet more to the right, that's what we consider a closed stance. If I point my feet more to the left, it's what's considered an open stance. So the idea here is it's not like we don't want to close our stance. It's more important to close our shoulders. Okay, now the idea with the closing of the shoulders is we can still go this way. It's just a lot harder once we're set in here. The reason why I don't like to mess with people's stance line first is if I set up with a closed stance and then I just grip the club and I go, okay, now I'm ready to hit a draw, my feet are pointed to the right, and then I get in here, what we can see is now I am cross-aligned, meaning my feet are closed and my shoulders are open. That would still produce a pretty good fade of the ball. So getting in there, setting up, going here, closing the shoulders, getting that thing out more is going to help us swing that club from in to out. That would be step one. Now step two in the setup portion is the hips. Again, I feel like the feet are more on the bottom end of the spectrum as far as setup is concerned. But if I'm set up here, closing my shoulders, and I've got my hips kind of open, so you can see my knees are kind of pointed open into the left, I would need to feel like I'm grabbing my waistband here and pulling my hips closed. I'm not really concerned at where my feet are pointed. I'm more concerned at where this hip is pointed. So one of my pre-shot routines is getting set in here, okay, and then kind of pointing that hip out and closing it just a little bit. So right now I'm set up to hit a pretty good draw. Hips are closed, shoulders are closed. If If I need a little bit more help, then I would close the stance line. Okay, now that we've got the setup, okay, just setting up to hit a draw, that's pushing a lot of things to the right, closing a lot of things down. We could then get into how do our arms move? So, how do our arms move? Well, let's grab our towel. There's kind of a thought process here. A lot of draw technique is learning the tempo of a draw. The idea of a tempo for a draw is almost a little bit slower on the backswing, and then we're kind of we're accelerating a little bit. So we're giving ourselves time, and then we're swinging through and creating this tempo for the draw. So our arms working is we're allowing our arms to swing around our body, and then what they're going to do is they're going to start to come down first. Okay? As long as I get this little separation of my arms to my shoulders and hips by letting my arms come down first, I'm now again inside path and I can swing up and around. So what I do is I grab a towel and I have players feel like they take it up here, let the towel hit themselves on the back, and then what they're going to do is they're going to accelerate their arms down. So it kind of feels like here. Now, when I'm doing that, I'm not doing it in the shoulders, I'm doing it in the arms. So you can see up and accelerate down. Up and accelerate down. Now, when I'm swinging the towel, I'm trying to hit the ground behind me, and then I'm trying to almost get it in line with my feet. So one more time, I'm going to stop it. So that towel is landing right here. Now what would it look like if I did it with my shoulders? So now we can see my body is tilted way behind the ball. I'm probably going to hit behind it, and that's not going to help me hit that draw. Boom, and then through. Now the other half of that spectrum is allowing myself to finish up a little bit more and more towards the target. So I've got this feeling of accelerating the arms, and then I'm finishing towards the target. What you can see here is my club is pointing at my target line. So here, and what I would do is I would set up and I'd hit a couple shots just like that. So taking it up, arms accelerating down, and then I'm going to finish just out in front of me. So here, and I would hit a couple shots just with that feeling. Now again, slight draw, okay, again working with the TrackMan, positive club path, right-handed golfer. That means I am swinging in to out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit a couple like that. And that accelerating the arms first, so that slow rhythm on the way back, and then accelerating my arms to start the downswing, getting that club inside, swinging through it, getting the club towards the target, getting the toe of the club kind of up in the air is going to help me feel that draw. As I start increasing the club head speed or turning more, it's going to take some of that draw away. So what I'm trying to feel here is if I was really trying to hit a draw, I would want to actually say, okay, there's my target out there. Maybe we're on the range. There's a 150 sign. I'm going to do, let's say, 10 of those balls, okay? And what I want to do is if I had a 7, I'm going to probably hit it 50% of what I could normally hit that club. And I want to see that ball curving towards the target at least 7 of the 10 times. If I can't do it 7 of the 10 times with just this little swing, I'd probably slow down or go back to the towel and hit some more. So there's one. And once we get that, we start to move on to our next steps. Thank you for watching. If you would like a lesson from me, come down to Cruces Total Golf, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 170 West Picacho. If you want an online lesson, download the Skillest app, search for TJ McMullan, and we can get started.